Okay, so I just want to make this video while I'm waiting for a ChatGPT response to load. Um, you know, I just got back from a performance and we're doing a ballet called Coppelia. It was, I don't know what I'll say. I will say that when somebody gave me a compliment yesterday and I thought I did poorly, and I saw the video today, the parts that I did bad on were actually not as bad as I thought it was. It's actually, I saw an improvement. Um, but at the same time, you know, I really struggle with stamina and prolonged dancing and, yeah. And, taking the bus back was not, all of this and the difficulties, and then wanting to have connections with, be a person that can help bring my family together within, the ones that are, not like intentionally harming us or not giving condolences for my mom's passing, or just, it's just crazy is what I'm saying. And so I need to make this video to kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other, because with all of these different things, what happens is overwhelm, and I just want to quit and give up and stop, right? And so I had made videos yesterday, but they didn't really hit like that for me. So actually what I want to do is I want to talk about a couple of things. First, and it is still loading, but first I want to mention Femicide, a song that made me remember about growing up when I was really young, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Then I have on my shirt from when I had done an internship at Alliance Française. When I couldn't get back to dancing, I kind of ended up getting stuck in Atlanta. And meanwhile, this is all just trying to figure so much out because I didn't have guidance in my black girl woman form. I'm kind of more of like a first generation type of situation where this is kind of the first time, I think, on both sides that something seems to be starting to be articulated. Or maybe not the first time, just maybe articulated in another way that has, I don't know, it just something feels about it like pioneering, the potential to be pioneering because of how difficult it feels. What was I saying? So that, and then, I want to also talk about a physics model that I actually unintentionally built. I didn't realize it was a physics model, but that is exactly what it is. According to ChatGPT, that is what I did, but I did do physics honors in high school, so that does make sense that things that were not nurtured are still with me. And that's what happens sometimes, things that aren't nurtured in you. Either, I guess, they can, disappear, but sometimes they will still be there, waiting to be loved like a little baby, And that's kind of what it feels like with my intellect. It's still sentient, still alive. And it's very exciting, but it's also very difficult because I am. Dance was one of the things that I could reach for. I couldn't really articulate racism, sexism, either in the outside world or within my family systems. And these are the things that I realize will hold me back in not being able to see what's possible for me, or not having encouragement. So say if you have a girl child who is your mom that also comes from this system and doesn't exactly know how to articulate her girl womanness, but is still a really smart girl, where I really love my mom for being a brilliant, smart girl. You can't articulate that. How are you going to articulate something when your child starts to show signs as well? So this is what's happening. It's simply generational mathematics, where certain things, obviously, you don't want to assume everything is a pattern. But when you start to see a pattern, then it's okay to call the pattern as it is. Okay, so first things first, femicide. It's really, really depressing to see 3 cases back to back to back to back. And this happens regularly at this point, where it's dangerous enough just to exist in this form, knowing that anything can happen at any moment, and God willing, protection, please. Then also to know that intimate partner violence is a very real horror that Black girls and women face. And before all of that, you know, there will be the presence of abuse and silences and generational harms and personal harms. So these things don't exist in a vacuum. The patriarchal structure that allows for the girl times woman, girl/woman times race, the gender times race, you have each individual component, then you have those components multiplied. In some cases, right, is it multiplied or is it to the power? We don't know if it's an exponential situation or if it's just like a multiplied situation or if it's just one or the other. I mean, so many permutations and combinations for this form that it is just crazy. And so it's very sad. So I'm going to say that. And I don't know what to say because I've been watching a couple of videos yeah. It's really sad. And it doesn't matter what the person looks like. They can be black, they can be white. Now, obviously, I do think that when it's white, I think Black people will use it as an excuse, and I will say excuse, to not look at the intimate partner violence that exists from Black person that is at the intersection of maleness to someone that's at the intersection of Black boy/man, Black girl/woman. That really needs to be called out. Because this one is the one that I'm at a higher risk for. Now, I don't know the statistics as far as interracial relationships go, right? We've seen also when it will be an Indian person taking out the Black person. And I don't know if the one I saw was literally that they unalived her. But I think, yeah, one was that, and another one was maybe they tried to and didn't succeed. So I think maybe I'm even referencing two. Okay? So that's how you know that this form is mathematically sound in its oppression. Because it does not matter who it is and where it is in the world. And anybody that has experienced domestic violence or is related to someone that's also experienced domestic violence, or if you've experienced abuse, sexual abuse, violence, or minimization, or not being listened to, you know. And people also take their frustrations out on targets that are easy targets as well. So that's another thing. I think this is the one that seems to, I don't know the details of the most recent one, but, you know, a murder-suicide, I mean, we could always solve that problem with one person sadly losing their life. And I can't say sadly when you're taking another person's life that didn't need to have their life taken. So, yeah. I just want a moment for that because that is just so destabilizing. And then very sad for the people black girls, black women that have lost their lives. It's awful. So just have a moment. Ashe. Alright, number 2, music. So this song brought me back to Stone Mountain, and I think I'm going to have to blog about this because this reminds me of when I was 6, waiting on the bench at the high school that my older siblings attended, and you wouldn't guess that we just have a really disjointed family system, and it would be really great if it's possible to heal that somehow. But like literally, you know how when you have an asteroid or, you know, a space collision or something, or a collision, some type of thing hits the earth, I mean, all the pieces just splatter all over the place. The pieces of the beautiful space rock splatter. I know this is just an unnecessary metaphor, but I just go with me, even though there's really no point of this metaphor. This was just not the most cogent metaphor, but, you know. Okay, so basically, that's it. So yeah, that's what it feels like. Like, we are just lost in space in our own orbits. And I really hope that there can be some type of central unifying force, the way how there's the sun and you have, I don't know what it is that allows the different planets to still orbit around the sun. And all of the different planets, even though I learned recently that Pluto is actually not considered a planet. I know it's considered a dwarf planet now, which is closer to being a star, but at least growing up, it was my very educated mother just served us 9 pies or pizzas, depending on that. But the song that this reminds me of, that reminded me of childhood and this time period, I heard it on the station at my job, and it was a song called My Boo, which was a song that was popular in Atlanta in the 1990s, and the song will go like, at night I think of you. But then the beginning is actually the best part. The whole song is great, actually. I mean, I will find myself just making up humorous moments for me to laugh at. I don't know if other people will laugh out, but I'll be like, I need the booty shake. I need the booty shake. I don't know why I will say it like that, but I just say it like that. But basically, that song just makes you so hype. I don't know why. From the beginning, when it's like, boy, you should know that I've got you on my mind. Okay. So, then I've been watching you. So, that song reminded me, took me back to this time, and I'm in the process of blogging about my life, and yeah, and I really realized that, yeah, a lot of things that I did carry that had nothing to do with me. That's why I am so late to things. Because when I see people who are on time to things, and I kind of think, wow, I should desire marriage and children. I mean, in theory, you know, not necessarily. But at least I maybe will think about it. And I don't think about it, right? And so that I think that is an indicator of me kind of being on the timeline that I can access now. And yeah, it's I don't know if it's sad or I don't know if it's interesting, but it is what it is. That's all I can say. So let me share my physics model. And that song, like I said, brought me back because I remember at this high school, I remember there was like the sciences, I just know high school, that's when you first learn about physics, you know, on that level. And yeah, trophies, superlatives in yearbooks, Oregon Trail, played that game. Alright, so this is a model that's saying the different aspects of forces that work against me and forces that work for me. And the idea of that is to basically just map out the reality of things just not being in my favor. And also the reality that there are also things that are in your favor in the midst of low probability truths and realities for your life and life goals. And it's helpful too, because when you start to like just face reality, I don't know, then I can kind of like start to figure out how to figure it out, you know? I can make a map of it and start to think, well, what are the things that add possibility, you know? I can start to figure out, okay, well, does that mean I just quit, or does that mean I try? Or try is a silly word that implies failure, is what someone told me. And I actually think that makes sense. That makes great sense. So do I just give up, or do I go for something and learn from, you know, who actually wants to learn from something if they fail? Like, please. Yes, I've learned so much, but I didn't reach my goal. Like, I mean, I guess, yeah, that is the alternative. So, I mean, of course, hopefully you will learn. Hopefully I will learn. But the goal is to achieve the goal, you know. And okay, so forces acting against my trajectory. And here I say structural, oh, let me show the image. Is that it says 99.99% chance of failure. And it's a little dramatic, but also it's really not. Coming from the circumstances I will come from, it's really not dramatic at all. So the first thing, force acting against my trajectory, is structural racism, misogynoir, lack of early scaffolding, And who thought of this? ChatGPT. They helped me tweak it because I had used like an offensive racial term I made the video about a couple weeks ago, and I used that and referred to myself as that, but it was like saying like, look, you can't call yourself the force, you can't make yourself one of the actual forces working against you. It was basically using distributive property to say that like, if you place this term next to yourself, you then take on that term within your identity, which is also a math term, identity, I remember that. And so basically with that, you don't want to wear that. And I do think that was actually really, really cogent thing for it to say, right? And so it's true. So instead it said, well, what you have here is you're doing a physics model that you're actually looking at the forces that are working against you. That's what you're trying to say. Trying again. That's what you are saying. And then there's also forces. We'll get to those in a second. So the other one is family system instability, delayed access to training. That refers to dance. And I felt that today in Act 3 where I lost stamina, okay? It's very hard trying to continue dancing when you literally have no more energy, okay? All right, so financial constraints, emotional burden, misrecognition/invisibility, history of silence towards sexual violence against Black girl children, and what did I say? And seemingly intentional too, and lack of recognition of our intellect, talents, and achievements. And I also want to have the asterisk saying that there's actually examples how this system impacts boy children. So I'm saying that it does also, because obviously you don't want to have like a glaring margin of error when you are, talking about different things. And I think even also in science experiments, you're also supposed to account for the margin of error that can occur within them. But what I'm saying truthfully is that when you have two different factors that impact your existence within a society, then and that is not outlined or named or really explicitly discussed and talked about and acknowledged, what happens is that ends up taking shape. It ends up kind of, manifesting itself into the oppressive force. The oppressive forces have a place to exist because there's nothing that's trying to counter it, because with silence, it's another way of giving permission for things to exist. It's another form of enabling things. And so that's definitely what has happened in my family system. And so also I say, so girls and women are literally impacted significantly more. Honestly, I want to say exponentially more. Like, if we drew a graph, we could definitely have that graph looking like the outputs are exponential outputs. We would have that graph looking like a trajectory that looks exponential. I remember, I think is that with like parabolas or something where it would be like that. Okay, but anyway, so gravity itself is a deterrent for me also. That's like a bit of humor because gravity is really not doing much to me. But just the concept, if you want to be a Black girl in flight, then yeah. Gravity, why? Okay, so, then also harm I have enacted onto others. So, I'm not blameless, and I hurt people too, and I grapple with that, and I have so much guilt and shame, and, yeah. So, having to understand that what I get from those harms I've done, and to do better. All right, and then the other explanation is that I have finished this one. So I finished the 99% one, and I have the exact same set of papers that's also going to have a 0.0000001%, and that will actually represent the forces that will allow for lift to happen. And that will include intellect, discipline, and different factors that are of benefit to a Black girl / woman like me. And so what I learned also, and I guess I forgot this about in physics, but now I remember, but what ChatGPT said, but I guess I know now that, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember this, that you don't actually have to overcome the gravity of things, the forces acting against you, What actually has to happen is that you just have, not just because it's actually still a difficult thing to do, you have to have this lift to have the same force as gravity. So the gravity or the forces acting against me will have to have the forces acting for me to have more force. And so from there, it will counteract the force of gravity or things that are going against my trajectory. And so with that, then I can start to lift off. And so that's a really cool concept, because then you can understand how airplanes fly, you can understand how spaceships fly. You can understand how, I don't know if you could actually make a physics problem for like a grand jeté or something, but I don't know if that would fit with like jumps in dance, jumps in ballet, or other dance forms, right? Because it's not limited to just ballet. Dance is going to have a lot of math and science to it, just because our bodies are kind of like machines in a sense. You don't want to think about it like that, considering how historically our bodies have been used as machines. If you are, connected to slavery or colonization, it's not going to, especially slavery, right? And then colonization, the realities of the harms that would have people treated with their bodies treated as machines. And what I'm saying is that I'm saying it in a way that is hopefully, you know what I mean. So our bodies are kind of like, things that we use to function and get things done and go from point A to point B. And that's it. So the goal is that their lift is higher than the actual gravitational pull and forces that are weighing me down, so to speak. And that's it. So I spoke for about 21 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and post this, and I'm going to read my chat GPT and be less sad than I was today, just thinking nothing is going to work out, because I'm still on the bus. I am wanting to have more connection to the family system I come from, but seeing so much that's really difficult about it. Being in a space that I am, God willing, will move from soon, God willing. It's just too much. So let me go, and I can kind of focus now, because this really helped me too. Alright, if you did watch all of this, thanks, and if not, this really is for me, and that's all I'm going to say. Alright, thank you, bye-bye.